Hey guys, what's up? We're going to be talking about scales. I'm pretty sure you guys don't like scales and some people think they're useless, but I'm going to try to turn your mind around because they are very useful. You can use them in songs, you can use them in learning finger dexterity, making your right and left hands accurate, building speed. You can learn how to transpose songs, and it helps you write them with other people in the band. It's really, really useful. Getting started knowing each scale is the first step, and then using them is a later step. I'm going to teach you 3 different kinds of scales: the major scale, the minor pentatonic scale, and another minor scale that I really like to play. The major scale is going to be the harder one, mind you, but I'm going to have you start with that, and then I'm going to jump onto the other 2. The reason I want to start you with the major scale is it is a bit harder, so the other ones are going to be a little bit easier for you to start to play, but it also helps you in finger accuracy and things like that a lot better. So it gets you started in a better place. Another thing scales help you on is improv. When you want to improv a line, when you're just playing notes like, you know, just you're playing a song like that, you're not very interesting, you're not really doing much, but when you play scales, when you try to make fills, you know, helps you sound more interesting, and then also builds your character on bass. 2 things before you start to learn scales. You want to know the notes on the neck, and I have a lesson for that that's going to be located right here. And that's going to take you straight to that video, and it's going to teach you exactly how to find every single note on the frets of the bass, and how to count from one to another and be able to name each and every one of them, so that when you play scales, you can name what kind of scale you're playing with the note that it starts on. And that way you sound even better than just saying, I'm playing the minor scale on the 5th fret. It sounds a lot better when you're saying, I'm playing the A minor scale. Another thing that is very important is that you start learning these with your fingers. You want to start anything that you're learning for the first time, you want to tackle it with your fingers. If somebody's going to teach you how to play something on bass, normally when you watch a lesson or somebody gives you a lesson, normally they're going to play traditional style, they're going to use their fingers. I always urge you to learn something with your fingers first, and then if you use a pick, moving with that to second. You want to be able to get used to everything with your fingers, and I urge that you use both your fingers and a pick in your bass playing journeys. You don't want to just stick to a pick and things like that, and if you stick to just fingers, and you're not used to playing with a pick, a lot of styles of music, of course, isn't going to be jumping up and down for you. You're not going to be able to do it right or be able to capture the essence of that song. So what you really want to do is you want to learn with your fingers first, and then you want to move to a pick later. Learn how to do it completely fluid with your fingers, learn how to play every single note, every single thing without any problems in any speed that you want to, and then when you play a song, when you're playing with your pick, you can try to use a pick in that same area of scale. So if I teach you if you're using the major scale, then you can of course learn the major scale, and then you can use a pick later on. So using your fingers is a very important thing to start out with before you start using a pick. The first scale we're going to look at is the major scale. I'm going to play the B major scale, which is starting on the 7th fret of the E string, and it's going to be like this. Very straightforward, pretty simple, but it does kind of move up on you a little bit, because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to start on your middle finger, you're going to jump from your middle to your 4th finger, then you go from your 1st, 2nd, and 4th, and then your 1st, 3rd, and 4th. And so you start out on the 7th fret, of course. Start out with the middle finger on the 7th fret, move to the 9th fret with your pinky, then jump up a string and go with your 1st finger, play the 6th fret, then your 2nd finger, play the 7th fret, then your 4th finger, play the 9th fret, then you jump up a string again, with your 1st finger, play the 6th fret, with your 3rd finger, play the 8th fret, and then with your 4th finger, play the 9th fret. So it's 2, 3, then 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. That's what you should remember. Have that written down for you to remember. But wherever you're playing this, you want to use that fingering pattern. Do not start with your 1st finger. It's not a good habit to start with. When you play with your 1st finger, you're going to be moving up and down the neck. Whenever you're playing a scale, and if it's not intended for your hand to move up and down the neck, if it's not intended to look that way, don't try it that way. So if you try playing it with your 1st finger, it's going to look like this. As you can see, my hand moved up a little bit, up and down there. You don't want that. You want to start with your middle finger so that your hand stays in one place consistently, going up and down the neck. So at this point, you're thinking, it's kind of boring. You've heard this scale before, of course, and you know, it's not really helping you out that much. But when you're playing the scale blindly, it's not really going to do much. I mean, just not really doing much for you. But things like that make it sound a little bit more interesting. So knowing the scales, you can take something, learn it by ear, staying in the same scale, staying in the same major area, and you're able to learn a lot of things by ear and to grasp a lot more of a musical world in just one place. So learning the scales is very important. The next scale I'm going to teach you is the minor pentatonic scale. This is going to be the easiest of the three and the one that you use the most. It's the most widely used scale. It's probably something that you're going to see everybody use when they're trying to use fills. It's one that a lot of people are more likely to use when they're filling and things like that, just because it's a simple and straightforward type of scale. Now, there's two ways to play this. There's 1-4, fingers 1 and 4 all the way through, or a combination starting with 1 and 4 and playing 1 and 3. I start with 1 and 4 and play 1 and 3 all the way down. I'm going to play you the A minor pentatonic scale starting in the 5th fret of the E string. That's using your 1st and 4th fingers. Using a combination of both, whichever one is more comfortable for you. I think it's preferred to use your 1st and 3rd going down the neck and up the neck, and starting out with your 1st and 4th fingers. This does clash a lot of times when you're using the 1-2-4 method. A lot of times when you first start to learn bass, your teacher might tell you to use your 1st, 2nd, and 4th fingers on the lower portions of the neck. And so if you're used to doing things like that, playing somewhere down here on the neck, you might just want to use your 1st and 4th fingers. But if you're comfortable using your 1st and 4th and your 1st and 3rd fingers, then you can do that. Do not start by using your 1st and 3rd fingers all the time. Do not do this. See, I couldn't even finish it that way. It's just not natural. Do not stress, don't stretch your fingers too far like that. You want to keep your fingers generally at one area. So you don't end up hurting yourself, because when you're moving from one fret and you're moving your ring finger all the way over, it's not good for you at all. Do not try doing that. Something that can be improv with that . Very easy, very fluid, interesting rhythmic bass lines. If you're in a store kind of jamming, things like that, it's a lot easier to play to. A lot of people might say, oh, that guy sounds like he knows what he's doing. But it's just a very simple kind of, moving up and down the neck, and it's probably the easiest scale that you're ever going to learn on bass. The last scale I'm going to teach you is a different type of minor scale. This is my favorite scale, and it's going to use your 1st, 3rd, and 4th, 1st, 3rd, and 4th, and 1st and 3rd fingers. So 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3. And I'm going to start by playing it on the 7th fret of the A string, which is going to be the E note, and it's going to be the E minor scale. Very straightforward. 1st, 3rd, 4th fingers, then again 1st, 3rd, 4th finger, and then 1st and 3rd. And then you move backwards in that general. Pretty straightforward, very simple to do, and you can play that at any part of the neck and it sounds pretty good. It's my favorite scale to play. Whenever I improv with that, I actually just play the entire scale I just did. When you're playing a scale up and down, make sure that you start on the E or A strings, or the B string if you have one. Because when you start a scale on the D string, let's say you're playing a minor scale and you started on the 7th fret of the D string, you're going to have to end up moving up on the neck in order to finish out the scale. This is what I mean. You've run out of strings to hop up, so you have to move up the neck. While this is completely valid and it works if you want to play very high, you probably want to find this same note, this one right here, somewhere down here. Playing it here is going to be a lot easier than playing it here. Once again, utilizing knowing the names of the notes in that lesson that I told you about, which is located again right here, it'll tell you exactly what the notes are called so that when you look at a note here, which is the A note, you can also play the A note here. And you can play the entire scale up and down the neck, whichever one works for you. If you do like to move up the neck like that, then it's completely fine. And it's more economical in terms to be able to stay in one position, in one shape. Moving up and down the neck does not qualify as being economical or efficient. So those are the 3 scales. Again, I want you to learn them in the order that I taught you. I know the major scale is a lot harder than the minor pentatonic scale, but it is something that will help you get started with these scales. Again, practice all 3 of them, try all 3 of them, but try to get better in each one of them. If you do like the minor pentatonic scale first, or you do like the other scales rather than the major scale, just try those first and learn them, but don't ignore the other 2 or don't ignore the other scales. You want to learn each and every one of these, and then you want to build up, because eventually you're going to learn scales that are not just in one place, and you're going to learn modes and things like that, which are beyond the realms of what I'm teaching you now, but it is going to help you and it is going to build a foundation for what you're going to be learning in the future. So try each and every one of them. Again, try using your fingers first and then using a pick. Try both. Use a metronome on getting speed down and accuracy. You want to learn them very slowly. Start very slowly, and then you can move to some faster speed accuracy bass lines. So that's it for scales. If you guys have any questions on them, then I can answer them to the best of my ability. These are the 3 scales to start with. You can start building up by trying to learn more scales or trying to look up some more scales, but these are the first ones that you're generally going to start with. I know you're probably thinking, what happened to the glass that was sitting right there? It was magic. If you do scales, you have the ability to make things disappear with your mind. You don't even have to use your hands or say anything magically. You just use your mind and things are just gone. You can make things disappear like a bass player from a band that doesn't let you solo, or you can make yourself disappear from a band period, and they'll have no bass lines and they will probably suck. So learn some scales, and not only will you get skills on the bass, but you'll be able to do some sweet magic that can ruin people's lives. You might be at the part of your journey where you're now playing with a band. This is going to be where I leave off where the beginners and intermediates are to the advanced players. This is how the journey kind of correlates into either you're in a band or you're a solo musician. If you are an either, you're going to start to write your own songs and you're going to start to play songs. The first thing you do when you get a bass is you start to learn songs from your favorite artists. You start to learn songs that you've heard a long time ago, and then at one point eventually you start to try to figure your own songs out, or try to get what's in your head out on the instrument so that you can distribute it to the world. The best way to do this is learning how to figure things out by ear. What you want to do is you want to learn how to play a song using just tabs, which I have on the prior version of this series of videos of how to read tabs. You want to learn how to play an entire song using tablatures. You want to learn how to play an entire song by having somebody teach you. You just want to learn how to play songs. At this point, you want to know how to play your instrument enough to play a song without messing up. Whether or not you know how to play every single thing perfectly doesn't really matter, but you want to at least get to the point where you can actually play each song, or any song for that matter, without any mess-ups and having them memorized. At this point, if you can get that far into your game, then learning things by ear is going to be just another step up. When you learn things by ear, you have to memorize how they sound. You have to be able to pick out individual parts of a song and then try to match them with whatever's on your neck. At least the version that I'm going to teach you. Learning by ear goes from beginning all the way to advanced, and there's many different methods of doing so, transposing and such, that it gets really, really hard. So I'm going to teach you an easier way to do it, or a way that you can start out by doing it, but then again, you can excel from here at any point in your life. What you want to start doing is, you want to be able to match everything that you hear onto your bass. You want to hum when you have some kind of idea in your head, just a couple notes. If you have a diddle that you come up with at school or something like that, just kind of come home and try to figure out what you're doing on your instrument. So let's say you have one that's, you know, bum bum bum, right? You should start finding the first note to that, bum. Right? That's the first note. You hum it, and then you try to match on your instrument that hum. So you hum along with sliding up and down. So of course, this is going to take a lot of practice. You're not going to be able to get it that quickly at first, and if you can, good for you. But I found the first note. So what I had in my head was bum bum bum. So So I found the second note. That's the first note, and the second. Now, this is a little far for me to play. If I start from here, I have to like move all the way over here to play this note. So let me try to find this note somewhere on the A string. It's going to be closer to this one. So let's find this one on here. So. Correct? So here we go. We've got the first note, and then we have the second note. Now we have the last note to figure out. You see what I just did there? You hum it, and then you find it. Now, I'm making it very fast, and you want to practice first. You want to start to find every single note that you're playing on the first string. I usually start on the first string, or if I can think of a scale, or if I can think of a place that I can play it, I usually start on a different string. But try to find that first note of whatever you're hearing in your head. Make it simple. Don't try to figure out something that Satriani plays on bass. That just wouldn't be a good place to start. But try to have like a simple 3 or 4 note, melody. Not even a melody, just 3 or 4 notes that are playing in your head at any point. Just try to hum 3 or 4 notes and try to find each one of those notes. Hum them, find them. When you hum along with your instrument to find that note. Whichever your hum matches, then you have the first note. Now again, if you click anywhere around me, I'm going to have a annotation to get you to a video to teach you what every single note on the neck is called. When you learn what those notes are called and you hum and find that note, write down on a piece of paper what that note is. And then no matter where you find each note, just write down the note. Don't try to figure out how to play the song first. Don't try to figure out like I did there, where this note here was here when I played this note. When I did that, I shouldn't have done that at the first time. You shouldn't do that the first time around. You want to figure out every single thing you're humming the first time around, and then when you have everything written down on a piece of paper, you say, well, this song that I'm trying to hum is E, D, and G, which would be, whatever that is, right? You have that written down. Now you can play that same E, D, and G a lot of places on the neck. Here's E right here. Here's D. Here's G. So you can play those same 3 notes all over the neck. You want to figure out the best place to play them. So you can play E on the open E, on the 12th fret of E. You can play E on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. And you can go all over the place with the E, but you want to find the best place to play that same E. So you've got the E, the D, and the G written down on the piece of paper, but you want to find which E to play on the bass. And you want to find which D to play and which G to play, and that's how you figure out things that's in your head by ear. When you get to this point, you're going to want to learn how to play songs by ear. That's when it gets a little bit more challenging. That's when you have to play a lot more things and memorize a lot more things than hum them out or try to match with a subwoofer or something by listening to what they're playing onto your neck. For bass players, this is quite a bit of a challenge because you can't always hear the bass efficiently on a track that's been recorded. So you want to try to match the rhythm guitar, or you want to try to get the best possible way to learn a song. When you're learning a song by ear, learning with tabs helps a lot better than just trying to learn raw by ear. You want to use a tab as a guide. Use a tablature, start out by using tabs, learn the entire song using a tab, and then you can find the inaccuracies in the song by being able to learn it by ear. So if you learn an entire song by tab, and you say, well, the song's pretty good, but that chorus doesn't sound right, and that verse, kind of the pre-chorus didn't sound right either. Then you can go back in the song, and you know exactly where the tab tells you to play it, but you can actually go in and around the notes that are near the tab to see the real way to play the song by just listening to it. I don't really have an example for you because I'd have to listen to the song, and then I'd have to listen, so it takes a lot longer. The best way to do it is listen to the song, learn it by tab, and then try to find the imperfections by going and listening to the song by ear and try to figure it out by ear. Using the exact same methods that I do. Instead of having your own melodies in your head, you've got that song in your head, whatever song you're trying to learn, and you kind of get it stuck in your head, you do whatever, you listen to the song over and over again, get it in your head, and then try to figure out everything on the bass. Then play along with the song. And if something doesn't sound right, go back and try that part again. If you can get an entire song like this and you practice daily, you can get to the habit of learning every single song by ear, which is a lot better for you than learning a tab or relying on tabs, because there are times where tabs are just not reliable or they're just not good tabs. You want to get to the point where you can look at a song, listen to a song, and say, this is how you got to play it. Of course, this is escaping sheet music. I'm teaching you how to do this as a beginner step. If you want to move ahead to an advanced level where you do read sheet music and you use transposing skills, then you can feel free to do so, but this is a good place to start. Live performances. I get a lot of questions on how to prepare for live performances and what to really do. I don't know exactly what that means, how to prepare for one, or like just the general questions towards them, but I'm going to try to answer them to the best of my ability. The one thing you want to do is you want to make yourself known. You want to move around on stage. No matter what instrument you play, bass, guitar, whatever, you want to move on stage. If you don't, then as a bass player, people just think you're useless anyway, or at least ignorant ones do, and they're going to think you're even more useless if you're not even moving around, because you're holding the band back. If the rest of your guys are moving around, you're holding your band back. If you're the only one moving around, you get most of the attention because you're moving around. So try that. Another version of stage presence that a lot of jazz musicians have is just kind of like staying in the back and having your sunglasses, kind of staring into the sky and playing that way. Hey, if that's your bag, you do that. That works for you. That's the best thing that you can do. Then make yourself known as that kind of bass player. But make sure you're at least heard and felt. Another question I get is stage sound, exactly how to get the best stage sound. The best type of stage sound that I think that works is taking your basic 3 EQ somehow and boosting the mids however you can, either boosting the graphic EQ or boosting just the mids, and then boosting the bass. The mids are going to make you heard, the bass is going to make you felt. Boost them as much as you can without getting too much. The treble just goes hand in hand. You can either scoop them, you can boost them however you want to cut the treble, you can do whatever you want to do with the treble. Just don't boost them even higher, because it's going to make a lot of scratchy noise. You don't want that on stage. So what you'll find is that your sound during practice and your sound on stage are two different things. When you practice and you have your best settings, when you get on stage, that's going to change. Things are going to change, trust me. After a couple of shows, you're going to want to have 2 different settings on your amps, however you can really do that. You want to acknowledge that your practice sound is not going to be the same that's going to be on stage. Those are the basic principles of boosting the EQ. There's other things that you can use, distortion, whatever, to get yourself heard more and felt more, and then also known on stage. Bass solos and background vocals are also another thing that you probably want to take up in your band. If background vocals aren't your thing, at least a bass solo if you can, if you want to. If your band doesn't let you do a bass solo, get rid of that band, go find another one, because you should be able to do whatever you want in a band no matter what instrument you play. A couple reference videos that you can check out are my old band Set the Prophecy videos where I am personally playing live. I'm not saying that I'm the best person playing live, I'm saying that that's what I do on stage to answer your questions the best. You can click on 2 areas around my head and they'll take you to a different song that I played live, and you can see what I do, and that's kind of just how I deal with things. I don't do any background vocals in that band, I do in my new band, and I'm completely fine. I didn't even have a bass solo, I just move around and I just have the stage presence, and that's fine for me. So whatever works for you, try the best you can. Preparing for live shows, you want to practice, practice, practice. You want to practice as if though you're playing live. After you have all your songs written down, after you have every single thing worked out with your band, you want to stand next to each other. Don't stand in a circle, stand next to each other, face where a crowd would be, and actually rehearse your music. Don't just practice them and get them perfect, because it's 2 different settings. When you're practicing somewhere and you're playing a song, it's a lot different from when you're in front of a lot of people, you haven't really warmed up, and it's hard to determine who's going to be playing first and who's going to be playing last. So you have all these different things that are thrown at you. You are getting on stage, you're setting everything up. It's going to be a completely different setup. You might forget what you're playing because it's just not the same thing. So you want to rehearse as if though you're in a band. The best thing you can do is suggest this to your bandmates is hauling all your equipment onto the stage every single time, or onto whatever practice area you have. Face as if though you're on a stage in front of a dog or something to make your audience somehow, and play as if though you're on stage. That's the best way to rehearse the music you have. That means it's going to be fluid during the practice, it's going to be fluid during your live performance, and somehow somebody might actually just recognize you and see who you are. Don't forget me if you guys do. That's the best that I can explain live performances. So that concludes the series, so you have your first bass. This is the best that I can teach you of how to start. This is for beginners to intermediate players, even some advanced brush-up things that you might want to learn, or something that you forgot to learn when you were learning how to play bass. Something that is a simple way to start out with. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I will try to do things like this in the future where I try to pack in a lot of things in one area so you guys can find it a lot easier and you guys can get on with your bass journey as quickly as possible. If you guys have any questions on anything that I left out or anything that I did show you, you guys can ask me at any point. I will try to answer to the best of my ability. And if there are parts of this series which you think I missed out on, things that I didn't get to, or things you seem fit for beginners to learn, but I didn't get to them, suggest them. I might come back and do some relapse videos. Other than that, I might just leave it here. This is the third and final part to So You Got Your First Bass. If you guys missed the other two, then click on either side of my head and they'll take you to either part 1 or part 2. And you guys can check them out, see what's going on there. If you guys missed the big 3 in this video, I cannot imagine how you did, but there are 2 other parts. Other than that, thank you for watching, and if you guys have any questions, of course, ask me, and follow me on Twitter for the latest of my videos. Thank you.